Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. I'm in the studio, I'm live. You know what to do by now. Get involved in the comments and the chat. We're going to be covering all the latest Manchester United stories, and there's quite a few this morning. Erik Ten Hag has given, should we say an explosive interview? Everyone gives explosive interviews, don't they? But yeah, he's given an interview with our mate Henry Winter from The Times, where he's covered a range of topics, including transfers, including the Mason Greenwood situation, including how Marcus Rashford is absolutely smashing it. More on him later. So really interesting interview that he's given. So we'll be getting into all that. So make sure you are getting involved as well. Danny Inns, James Kelland, Prabhav Kandawal, Jakoya Trott, Petey, Colin Coupleditch, Glenn F, Brian Casey, all saying, morning Jay, what up Jay, morning our kid, good stuff. Flashburn 52 says, morning Jay, morning everyone. James Kelland says, whoa, I've lost my badge, WTF. I don't know what's going on there. Might be something to do with membership. Let me know, I'll look into it. Adi Doyle as well, Jonathan Sheikey saying, morning Steph Pierre, morning Jay as well. Right, let's talk about one of my favourite topics, Harry Kane. So, there's a story here in the Mirror basically saying that Daniel Levy has got this stance on a Man United move with Spurs ready to run the risk again. It says Tottenham are determined to resist Manchester United's attempts to sign Harry Kane this summer. Determined to resist. How determined? Bit open to interpretation, that, innit? They're determined to resist, but will 100 million quid shatter that determination? Who knows? It says here, Spurs chairman Daniel Levy is adamant that they will not sell the England captain to a Premier League rival. I don't know about that. I don't know. I get it, but I think United are moving ahead of Spurs. I think we're progressing, and I think Spurs are stagnating at best, and I think Spurs have got some serious issues, really. And I don't think it's just keeping hold of Harry Kane. I think that team and that squad needs a massive overhaul. I think they didn't really spend that wisely last summer. I know it looked like they did at first. When I saw them getting Bissouma, Jed Spence, Perisic, was it Romero, and who was the other one? I'm forgetting one. Richarlison, of course. I thought, okay, looks like they're doing bits there. But they haven't really improved, have they? And a lot of those players were just squad players. And also, some of them have been, well, Richarlison, I think he's got one Premier League goal. And Bissouma's been a bit of a disaster. From what I've seen anyway, and by all means get involved in the comments if you're a Spurs fan and want to correct me. So yeah, I think they need a bit of an overhaul there. I don't know if they are proper rivals to Manchester United. I hope we're going in the right direction. They seem to be going back the other way. Anyway, I get it. We're in the Premier League. So he's saying, United boss Erik Ten Hag has made Kane a top striker target as they look to strengthen their squad this summer, but Spurs do not want to do business on their top scorer and talisman. The fact Kane could be a free agent next year may put off foreign clubs from making a huge bid now, and it seems highly likely that he will stay at Tottenham for at least next season. Tottenham will certainly not give up on keeping Kane beyond his current deal, as they believe his loyalty, plus also the incentive of closing in on the Premier League goals record. He's now just 47 behind Alan Shearer's 260. Could persuade him to stay even longer. He can do that at United. We're in the Premier League, and I think he'll score a lot more goals at Manchester United. I know he scores a lot at Spurs, but I think with Bruno Fernandes feeding him them passes, I think Harry Kane can keep smashing these records, keep getting 30-goal seasons, at least for another 2 seasons. I think he's got at least 2 seasons in him. So I don't think going to United is going to stop him from reaching and breaking Alan Shearer's record. I think the opposite is true. So that doesn't really make any sense to me. I get Spurs don't want to sell him. I understand that. But I think that if they're going to lose him for free, maybe it becomes more attractive for them to get some money in that they can spend elsewhere. I think the main issue that Daniel Levy's got is it's hard to replace Harry Kane. If you get 100 million quid in, let's just say 100 million, it might be more, it might be less, for Harry Kane, can you bring in someone who's going to get you those goals for that money? Probably not. What you can do, though, is bring in someone more long-term. You can bring in a player who's going to be at Spurs for the next 7 or 8 years. That ain't Harry Kane. So you have to balance it out. Or maybe you go, all right, we can bring in a £50 million striker and a £50 million defender because they've got defensive issues. Maybe they use that money. I'm using the 100 million as an example. I'm not saying that's going to be the fee. They can use that money to invest in 2 areas rather than 1. I don't know. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think. Harry Kane, obviously heavily linked with Manchester United, along with Victor Osimhen. Those two seem to be the main two striker options. If we can't get Harry Kane, though, can we get Victor Osimhen? The fees being touted for him are even bigger than Harry Kane, so we'll have to wait and see. Cosmic, who's been a member of the Academy for 28 months, says, morning, fellas. Glenn F says, I really don't want to be bent over by Levy. Think we should try and get Evan McGregor and then Kane on a free. Also, Colin Wilmot says, get Van der Sar in, that'll be the best signing. Brian Casey says, wasn't he adamant about not selling Berbatov to a Premier League rival? McSnap says, hey Jay, would the channel ever think about doing phone-ins? Yes, we used to do them. We used to do them years ago in Full-Time Devils. It was me, it was Joe McGrath, it was Webby. It was mainly Joe McGrath and Webby. So yeah, sorry, I think you mean Evan Ferguson, don't you, Glenn? If that threw me now, Evan McGregor, I was like, I think you mean Ferguson, yeah. Yeah, we used to do phone-ins, so we might be bringing them back. So watch this space. Hopefully we will. Jermaine Rutters says, morning, Jay. I don't think we should be held hostage for Harry Kane. Ask once and move on to the next target. Yeah, I get what you mean. Brian Casey says, how could you forget the name Ferguson? Yeah, it threw me. I was like, Evan McGregor, what's he on about? Then it's like, yeah, oh, Ferguson, yeah, of course. Right, let's talk about this interview that Erik Ten Hag's given to the Times. You can see Harry Winter's tweet there. Harry Winter's a big supporter of the channel. He's been on a few times. He was on about a week ago or 2 weeks ago with me and Ronaldo Brown on the Tier 1 podcast. Make sure you're checking that out if you've not done already. And also, if you've not done already, make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. It says here, I hated myself after Brentford. This is Erik Ten Hag. I'm responsible. I hate managers when they're winning. They say, I won the game. And then when they're losing, they say, the players lost the game. No. We win together, we lose together. I love that. If you remember when we lost 4-0 at Brentford players had ran an average of 13 kilometres more during that game than Manchester United players. Erik Ten Hag called in the players for extra training the day after the game, and he made them all run 13k. And the kicker is, he ran it with them. He was responsible for that loss as much as they were. Needed more effort from everyone, including himself, so they all ran the 13k, including the 52-year-old Erik Ten Hag. And what happened? The next game was against Liverpool at Old Trafford, and we beat them. So you've got to say that he puts his money where his mouth is. He's not just saying these things. He's proven that he does that. He is one of those managers who says, you know what, we're in this together. And the interview with the Times was really fascinating because he covered a wide range of topics. He spoke about, obviously, sort of being in this together. He also spoke about Mason Greenwood as well. That's a bit of a funny one, isn't it? Because I don't mean funny, I mean funny, but it's interesting because we sort of don't know what's going on there. The charges were dropped. There's now this investigation going on with Manchester United. Now, when he spoke about it, I think the Daily Mail have covered this as well. There's an article in the Daily Mail where it says here, Erik Ten Hag hints Mason Greenwood could stay at Old Trafford as he can score goals. Sorry, we can just scroll down. As he says, he's shown in the past he can score goals for Manchester United, but Boss insists the decision won't be his after rape and assault charges against the forward were dropped. Yeah, he said it's not his decision. So he didn't. I think it's difficult. It's hard to say that he's saying he's got a future or he's saying he hasn't. He just sort of said that, more or less said. If we can just scroll up a little bit further as well, no, or down. Sorry, to the next bit. Keep going. Yeah, it says the club are currently carrying out their own internal investigation into his arrest, which Mail Sport previously reported was unlikely to be completed before the summer. Green was reportedly told some of his friends that he would never play for Man United again. So Erik Ten Hag said that he could score goals. He's also said that it's not his decision to make. So we'll have to see what happens with that investigation. We know that it's not as open and shut as, well, the charges are dropped. So that's the end of that. There was that audio that I'm sure we've all heard that's doing the rounds. There was also those pictures as well. Then there's the added sort of, I don't know what you would call it, the added part of this story, for want of a better word, the fact that I think that Greenwood, I know Greenwood said what he said. He's having a baby now as well. I don't know if that has any effects on this investigation or whatever. I don't know, and I don't want to speculate on something as serious as this. All we do know is what Erik Ten Hag has said and what the club have said. There's an investigation going on. The charges by the police have been dropped. The club are doing their own investigation. Erik Ten Hag says it's not in his hands. He's acknowledged that Greenwood scores goals. We know that anyway, but he said it's not his decision to make. So obviously, once that club investigation has been completed, the club will then make that decision. And you'd presume that Erik Ten Hag will abide by that decision if he said it's not his decision to make. We'll have to wait and see. Get involved in the comments in the chat. Let us know what you think about all of this. Matt Wick says, it's his decision. Very disappointing. Quote from Erik. I think he's being a bit careful there, and I get it. He has to be careful while the club are doing this investigation. And it's a bit beige, if I'm being brutally honest. If that is what the club stance is, if they've said, look, we're going to do this investigation and we'll advise you or we'll tell you whether he can play for Manchester United again or whether we're happy for him to represent the club or what the outcome of that investigation is, then I understand it. I don't think there's a happy ending here, regardless. And I don't think there's a perfect way to deal with it. I think the club are obviously conducting their own investigation because it's not just a case of, well, the charges have been dropped, that's it. There might be something there still to answer, as I said about the audio and the other stuff that I mentioned as well. So Erik ten Hag's in a very difficult position because he can't just come out and say, well, this is what's going to happen. He has to sort of play it by the rules, if you will, which sounds a bit sort of convoluted, but at any workplace, you will have a certain process in place when it's an investigation, whether it's a disciplinary manager or whatever. So he's abiding by that. I get it. Even though some people may not agree and they may want him to come out and say one statement, either for or against, it's better that he doesn't while this investigation's going on. When it's concluded, we'll find out if Mason Greenwood's going to play for Manchester United again. As I just said, though, he seems to think he won't, as he was quoted in the Daily Mail as telling friends that he doesn't think he'll play for Manchester United again. We've also heard there's been links with, I think, a few clubs in Italy have been looking at Mason Greenwood. He'll find a club if United decide to get rid. He will find a club. I'm telling you now. People say, oh, no one will touch him. They will. Right, should we talk as well about just a bit more on that interview? There's, I think we've got a tweet from Fabrizio Romano here. He says this is one of the other quotes from the interview that he gave. He says, other clubs invested to be in the top four in January. We didn't invest. You can't ignore that. If you want to be competitive in this league, you have to invest. I need signings. Yes, he told the Times. So there's a bit of a rallying call. He needs signings, and he does. And if you look at what happened in January, he mentioned this as well. He mentioned it in the interview, the facts in January. Didn't spend any money, brought in loan signings, he brought in Wout Weghorst, we brought in Marcel Sabitzer. We still finished third, we still won the Carabao Cup, and we're still in the FA Cup final. Fantastic achievement, that, for me, what he's done this season. Especially considering in January, we didn't have Ronaldo, Anthony Martial had been injured for practically the whole season, and he wasn't given any more money. Yes, we spent some money in the summer, but a lot of that money went on replacing players that had gone. And the fact we needed to rejuvenate the squad, we know that because we finished sixth last season and then lost a load of players in the summer. So, yes, he spent money in the summer, but in January, we needed reinforcements. We needed a striker, and he wasn't given any funds to buy one. All he was allowed to do was make loan signings. He did the best he could, and at the end of the season, we finished third, won a trophy, and are in the hunt for another one in the FA Cup final. So I think that's pretty phenomenal, with all things considered. We should have backed him better in January. I've said that all along. Don't give me this tosh about there wasn't money on the table. There's always money at Manchester United. There's money for dividends. There's money to pay off this debt. There is money. And also, had we gone, not even gone big, had we backed him a bit more in the transfer window in January, who knows what would have happened? Who knows how that would have panned out for the rest of the season? If we'd have got him a striker that he wanted, rather than one he had to make do with, no disrespect to Wout Weghorst, then things could have been even better than they were, and a good season could have been a great one. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford, one of my favourite topics. Marcus Rashford has won double Player of the Year awards. As you can see there, he's won the Players' Player and he's won the Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year. I think that's the one voted for by the fans, I believe. What a season Marcus Rashford has had. 30 goals this season. 2 Player of the Year awards, a goal in the Carabao Cup final, absolutely smashing it. He got a lot of critics last season, and a lot of people questioning him, and I get it. I was questioning him after what was a really underwhelming season under basically Ralph Rangnick. There was a time when he wasn't even getting in the team. Anthony Elanga was preferred to him, which would have seemed unthinkable a few years ago, a youngster coming through and sort of knocking Marcus Rashford out of the starting 11. But that is where we were at, and going into this season, you wondered whether Marcus Rashford could rekindle his form, could find that form that he'd had shown in previous season, and he's done it and then some. He's had an absolutely cracking season. He's been integral to Manchester United's success, scoring some really important goals. And this is a player who has had his critics, and I don't get it sometimes. I think there's a little bit of OTT criticism of Marcus Rashford. He's come through the academy. He's scored goals throughout his career at Manchester United, some important goals as well against the likes of City, against the likes of Liverpool, against the likes of Arsenal. He's stepped up when we've needed him. Also as well, he's played through that pain barrier. We've seen Marcus Rashford playing through injury. We've seen him when he's been hobbling around the pitch against Liverpool because we made all 3 substitutions, but he still kept going. He still kept giving his all. We heard from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer how he played when he had a bad shoulder. I think it was after the City game where he carried on playing against Chelsea. He played against PSG when he had a shoulder injury. He played against Wolves when he had a back injury, and we had to bring him on to make sure we got through. I think it was that the FA Cup game replay where we had to use him to make sure we got through to the FA Cup next round. This is a kid who's always given his all for Manchester United, and it's about time he got his recognition. It's great to see him getting his flowers, because I will never understand some of the criticism he gets. Yes, you can question certain aspects of Marcus Rashford's game, but it seems as like this segment or part of Twitter and social media who just don't rate him. And I think that the facts speak for themselves. Important goals, lots of goals this season, 2 Player of the Year awards. Marcus Rashford is absolutely smashing it, and long may it continue. Should we move on? Talk about Edwin van der Sar. Edwin van der Sar has left Ajax, steps down as Ajax CEO. He's not had a great season this season, Edwin van der Sar. And I want to say he, I mean Ajax haven't. I think they didn't qualify for the Champions League. I think he gave a speech at the end of the season where some sections of the crowd were booing him. He's left, he's walked away from it. He has been successful there. I think Ajax have won a lot of trophies whilst he's been the CEO, but now he's left. Now there's people that are looking at it and going, we should get Edwin van der Sar at United. He would be perfect to come in and be the CEO at Manchester United. Listen, I love Edwin van der Sar. He's the best goalkeeper I've ever seen play for Manchester United Football Club. He's arguably the best goalkeeper I've ever seen play for anyone. So I've got a lot of time for him, and he's obviously done a very good job at Ajax up until this season. But does that mean he can come in and be CEO or director of football or whatever capacity be brought in at Manchester United? I'm not so sure. Let me know what you think. Do you think he could come in and do a job at Manchester United? It's easy to say yes because it's Van der Sar. But just because you're a legendary player doesn't mean you're the right fit for certain roles. Certain roles at Manchester United. Not any role, but certain roles are very specific. He has got experience of doing that job at Ajax. I get it. But we have to be a little bit wary. Part of me is a bit wary that we just become Ajax 2.0 and it's just like, get the Ajax manager, get the Ajax CEO. I know he's got ties to the club. I know he's a legend. Get a load of Ajax players and let's just do what Ajax have done and we'll be all right. It doesn't always work like that. So you have to be a little bit careful when it comes to who you're appointing and the roles that you're putting them in. And also the control they have. There's no point in appointing Edwin van der Sar as CEO or director of football or whatever you want to bring him in if he's not given the tools and the capacity to do the job that he was doing at Ajax. Let me know what you think. George Jones says, I guess he works well with Ten Hag, so why not a guess? That is a good point. He has worked with Erik Ten Hag. They had a very good relationship, you presume, Ajax, and had success at Ajax, so maybe that could work. Who knows? That is one sort of point to look at and go, well, those two have worked together in the past. We've seen how it can work at other clubs when you have either a director of football or whatever you want to call it, or a CEO who works in tandem with the manager. Those relationships can be vital, and they do have a strong relationship and a successful one at Ajax. Something to consider. Let us know what you think. David Rock, Schmeichel was the best, not Van der Sar, was he? Don't think so. Brian Casey says, think he could be good for the club, could definitely find a role for him. Yep, let me know. Yashi says, Van der Sar and Erik Ten Hag would be good. Oh, Hanlon 86 says, morning Jay, late to the pie, but I'll catch up. Like the video, UTFR. Yep, hit that like button. We've only got 152 likes. There's 1,300 people watching. That is unacceptable. Hit the like button. Smash a like, as the kids say. Harry Maguire has been in the news again. I think we have a Harry Maguire story almost every day now, don't we? It says, Manchester United manager Erik Ten Hag says captain Harry Maguire has a decision to make on his future at the club. The 30-year-old England defender made only 16 appearances in the Premier League for United this season. So you can see that Erik Ten Hag, again, this is quoting the Times, says no one would be happy with the situation. He is not as well. He trains always on best levels, so with 100% effort. I spoke about this in my news yesterday. I don't think Harry Maguire has much of a future at Manchester United. In my opinion, he's fourth choice centre-back, maybe even fifth, because Luke Shaw seems to get preferred on the left-hand side of the centre-backs over Harry Maguire when you have to make a change there. Plus, there's been heavy links, with Kim Min-jae from Napoli. If he comes in, that could mean that Harry Maguire's sixth choice doesn't look good. I think he'll end up moving on. We'll have to wait and see. Just finally, before we wrap up as well, Manchester United, I give Manchester United a lot of stick about things they get wrong, but sometimes they get things right. And they did an announcement yesterday. I think we've got a tweet here, we can see it. It says, Manchester United, football is nothing without fans. Presenting our inaugural fan award to the late Ian Stirling for his extraordinary contribution to the club and our supporters. Ian Stirling, who was a shining example to us all. He works obviously for Must, or with Must. He was a pal of mine. Ian, he passed away earlier this year. It was sudden, it was tragic, and it was a good, big loss. And my thoughts are always with his friends and his family as well. But the club recognised the job that Ian Stirling did. Ian was one of those who, if you needed help and you were a Manchester United fan, you could give him a ring. He would help you. He would make sure you were looked after, whether that is you travelled abroad and your tickets went missing, or you couldn't get back, or anything, or you needed a bit of advice, or the club weren't speaking to you. He was that guy you could go to, and he would always have time for Manchester United fans. He was absolutely selfless, tireless, passionate, and dedicated to making Manchester United a better football club for us fans. I do miss him. He was a pal. I was looking, just reminded me, and I went through my phone, and the last time we spoke was funny for Derby, Manchester Derby, because it was my birthday, and he'd messaged me to say happy birthday, and we were talking because obviously we beat City and it was the best birthday present, and hopefully we can beat City again in this FA Cup final. So good to see they've brought out an award in Ian's name, and it's just a fitting tribute to a great guy. Sorely missed. Make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments. We're back later on as well. We've got a big interview coming up. Just hush hush. We've got 2 big interviews coming up this week, so a bit of hush hush, but make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I've been Jay Motty. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.